Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Before we get started with our conversation, if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our channel and please give us this video a thumbs up. Now, if you're listening to this episode on any of our platforms, please give us a 5-star rating and please also give us and download some more episodes. I really appreciate it. It is our third episode of 2023, and joining us today is a Spotify verified artist. As of this recording, he has over 6,400 Instagram followers, and his latest EP, Celeste, is expected to schedule to be dropped March 31st, 2023. So please help me welcome Jain to the podcast.
How you doing?
Good. Did I get everything?
Say it again.
Did I get to everything?
You got everything. That's it. That's all of it.
Perfect. That's wonderful, Jain. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk with me today. I really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
All right, so let's get started, shall we? So, Jain, when did you get interested in the music industry, and how did that passion involve a desire to pursue a career in the recording industry?
Well, I got into it in kind of a funny way. I didn't grow up necessarily playing instruments. I was kind of into sports, and then I had a few friends when I was in high school that were really into playing guitar and kind of into bands and into the clothes, and it kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit. And then I'm from a small town called Newbury Park. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's just kind of north of LA. And there was a band that had come out of my town called The Neighborhood, and they're kind of like um, set a tone on doing music is a thing that people can do, I guess. They kind of did it in a really big scale, but yeah, they kind of opened up the door for a lot of people in my community to at least have the opportunity to do music.
That's just amazing. It's amazing. I've heard of The Neighborhood. They're an amazing band. And speaking of band, my brother Aaron was in the high school marching band for all 4 years, and then went to was part of the Pride of Arizona marching band at U of A for all 4 years as well. So marching band
Nice.
and bands can be fun, can be a lot of fun. I'm
Nice,
a
yeah.
fellow choir boy.
Oh, nice. You're choir? Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah, from 5th through 12th grade.
Oh, great. Wow.
Awesome. So while we're on the subject of music, who are your musical heroes and how did they inspire your sound?
Sorry. Hey, shush. I would say Radiohead probably would be the start of my kind of musical pyramid of things I'm interested in. Bon Iver and a lot of I guess really mainly it's a lot of the heavily kind of emotive artists that I seem to gravitate towards. In that kind of it's kind of genreless, really. I'm interested in people who have a pretty singular view and a singular vision, or they give us a great um, perspective, of the world from their eyes, I guess. So it probably starts at Radiohead and trickles down into a variety of other things. Jeff Buckley, or currently there's this guy called Tamino I'm really interested in. This artist called RyX that I really like. I'm really into the Stones. I'm into the Smiths and Oasis. So it does kind of vary.
It does, and it definitely seems like our industry, the entertainment industry, especially music, there's a lot of genre-less stuff. Like I know that Billie Eilish
Mm-hmm.
populated some of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Lil Nas X has populated some of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that that kind of goes along with the point with what I was saying about, if you're able to express your point of view in an honest way, sometimes the music, meaning the genre, almost doesn't matter as much. If your point of view is consistent, or your language is consistent, the genre kind of, I think, almost becomes irrelevant.
Absolutely, and it's definitely we're moving towards a genreless area. So, Anyway, so what have been some of the challenges that you faced staying in a recording industry, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
Hmm. I think the challenges are kind of uh, always kind of changing. It seems for me personally, I think the biggest challenge has been the fact that I grew up kind of, so I'm 29. So I grew up kind of at the beginning of this internet thing or this social media thing. Um, the biggest challenge for me personally has been the fact that I wasn't interested in social media when it was starting. So the natural kind of knack to take out your phone or to almost like self promotion or self marketing has become inbuilt in kind of like modern society. Not even a tool that's really taught. It's just kind of ingrained in what how we've been brought up or kind of programmed. Um, so the biggest obstacle for me has been, and it's still a obstacle and still kind of a thing that needs to be nurtured and learned is social media and really kind of adapting to that really being the way the world works. Because in my mind, it's always been like, okay, Instagram's a thing. Well, I can't wait for it to go away, and then it goes back to normal, and then it's TikTok's a thing, and oh man, I can't wait for that to go away, and it gets back to normal. But it's occurred to me that recently, this is normal. Like this isn't going away. You know, so I would say that's been the biggest obstacle. The music part it was always been the fun part, the recording and the writing, and that was always been a beautiful challenge. Um, it's the I think the job is really an influencer who does music, and I haven't really nurtured that part of the job very well.
Believe me, there's a lot of different things going on with social media. I remember, I can say as well, like I'm 34, so 5 years younger, and I remember begging my mom for a Facebook account during my
Hmm.
graduating days of high school, graduating Blue Valley Northwest.
Hmm.
I remember seeing Twitter get launched while I was a sophomore in college at University of Colorado Boulder. So
Hmm.
I've been around, and I've even started Instagram in 2013. So it's been a long way. We've come a long way with social media.
Yeah, yeah, we really have, and it's it is. It's like I wish I spent most of my time accepting it for a positive tool, rather than kind of being so old school minded and being so interested in the music and which I'm still interested in. I don't blame myself for that part, but maybe not being progressive enough or adapting with the times, or maybe just not confident enough, really. But that's yeah, that's got to be a learned skill. I think that's and definitely the hardest part for me, at least.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because the thing is with me, it's like what to show, what not to show, and also I cannot adapt to TikTok for the life of me
Yeah,
because the thing is,
yeah,
I know that goes down a rabbit hole, and I can all. However, Instagram and YouTube have been my rabbit holes.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's like it technology has done an amazing thing, which has given everyone an opportunity to be seen, and the way culture's kind of moved. What we're all attracted to is it's interesting. Like we just want to see each other's lives. Um, Now, like YouTube being long form and TikTok being like so short form, it's very difficult to figure out where your space is or like find your voice within all these different platforms.
Absolutely. I have troubles with getting increasing my YouTube membership as
Hmm.
well. Getting up
Hmm.
to that magic number that they need to be considered a YouTube partner. It's tough.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it really is.
Awesome. So let's move past social media and talk about the music. So I picked
Hmm.
out some of your songs that are currently based on Spotify. And though for those of you who don't know, Jake's Take is not Spotify is on Spotify, but we're not Spotify podcast, sponsored podcast. So Now that we got that out of the way, I picked out 5 of the songs and I'd love to learn the stories behind them, Jane.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about Someplace I Don't Know. As of this recording, it has over 10,000 streams.
Yes, Someplace I Don't Know. It's funny, the song came really late. So that was an album I was recording called What a Wonderful Time to Be Barely Alive. And it came really late, Someplace I Don't Know. I actually remember that kind of like barely kind of squeaking on. And I got really interested in, I get fixated on one thing when I'm recording typically. And around this time or that time, I was really interested in ride, ding, ding, ka, ding, 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 ka. So I was kind of exhausting that drum pattern, and there's this specific kind of drum sound that goes with it. So I felt like I was really exhausting that out, and I wanted to do something kind of like grandiose, like something kind of beach housey, or um, I don't know, still kind of Oasisy, in the chorus is a bit Oasisy. Um, Lyrically, I think the song has been really about escapism, and that whole record is kind of actually escapism because I made it during COVID, like or during the original lockdown. So yeah, I think that kind of followed with the trend, and certainly not the only one that was making records that sounded or that were about escapism or needing to find escapism. But that was kind of summarized as generally what that song and that time was about.
Awesome. That it's definitely I during that first lockdown, I was in New York City, right
Oh,
in my
nice.
apartment. It was very tough. I think I earned my New Yorker stripes then from
Yeah,
lockdown to phase 4. So it was rough. That was a rough lockdown.
yeah. Are you in New York now?
No, I'm currently back home in my hometown of Kansas City. I've been there since May 2021. And I'm very fortunate that the pandemic brought me home.
Nice, excellent.
All righty, so let's talk about For You, For Blue. As of this recording, 17,200 streams.
So for you, for Blue, that's probably my favorite song on that album. Blue is actually my dog, um, and I kind of I don't know. I was really writing actually another lockdown song that I wrote. I hadn't seen my now wife in 8 weeks because we both quarantine now. I'm in our house now, but this is when we weren't living together. Um, and I'd written loads of songs, and For You, for Blue was the one that kind of like made it feel like there was a project coming together for me. Um, a definite, just like beautiful love song, and the lyrics are super literal. There's a lyric that goes, "I've loved you from the moment I saw you get out of that car since we got blue," which are two different. I just remember the first time that I had actually met my wife. We were in 8th grade when I'd met her, and she'd
Oh,
gotten out of this
wow.
car. Yeah, we've been together for 13 years, but we started dating in the middle of high school and kind of never stopped. But I'd met her in 8th grade, and I remember was getting out of this car, and she just had gotten her braces off, like weird kind of fact I remember. But since we got Blue, which is our dog, it was different before. I couldn't do my words can't do any justice really for the way I feel about you. So that's the general kind of love story. Uh, 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 Not chronological, just kind of. Yeah, I guess it is kind of chronological. Just facts of our relationship, kind of an ode to our relationship.
That's amazing. And I believe me, those late relationships last for a very long time. I met some of
Hmm.
my friends from middle school, even though we didn't be when I first met them in middle school, but we didn't become close until the end of high school or even at the end of
Yeah,
college. So that's a
yeah,
long time knowing of someone, 22 years.
yeah, big time.
Awesome. So let's get on now. Inside Your Room is your most streamed song. So
Hmm.
2,908 8,000 Spotify streams.
Hmm. Yeah, that was another. Yeah, I mean, off what a wonderful time to be barely alive. Another COVID song that was really about lockdown. It's so scary out. Let's stay inside your room. And if they try to get to you, I'll be with you. inside your room. It was pretty literal. I actually had an amazing moment with that song recently on tour when I was supporting Suki Waterhouse in Europe. Um, so me and my wife have had this kind of fascination with Paris, and we actually got married in Paris in September, and I've been there now like,
Congratulations.
oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I've been there like 16 or 17 times. Like I've been there a lot of times. And we were in Paris on tour, and I was opening the show. And I have a lyric in "Inside Your Room," which is my last song. Excuse me. That goes, "Soon we can live alone in an arrondissement," which arrondissement is like a neighborhood. It means like neighborhood in French. And I'd kind of recognized. So in the moment, I'm playing the show, which meant a lot to me just because I'd been there so many times and never played a show there. But I'm playing the show, and I recognized what I said, and I just started getting so choked up. Then there's this big kind of string section in the song, that part played out, and I just had these big alligator tears, running down my face, and I go backstage and I just start crying, crying, crying after the show, just because I wrote a lyric at home, outside of LA about being able to live in Paris or being able to at least play music in Paris, and that kind of came true in this beautiful moment that I didn't really have planned.
So
It kind of hit me at
serendipitous.
once what I'd said. Oh, it was so beautiful.
It was serendipitous. I remember the first time I came back to New York's. It reminds me of the first time that I came back to New York City after I moved back to Kansas City, and when I went to my
Mhm,
favorite coffee shop, Gregory's, for the first time, I literally was shaking because I never thought I would be
mhm,
back there because when I left it was closed because it was very limited business hours.
mhm.
So I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Those feelings.
Absolutely. All righty. So, Sun in My Eyes is the latest single. So, can you talk about that?
Yeah, "Sun in My Eyes" is a deeply, deeply, almost scary personal song. It, it's kind of it tells a tale of, an accident I got into when I was young, and, it was definitely life-altering moment, and, it's something I've not really been able to speak on or really even write about for a very long time, and, I think I was kind of beautifully encouraged, um, to try to kind of put some of that into, words, and which turned into song form, and, that kind of that feeling lined up with the idea that, like, it's if I'm taking my art more seriously, it's also important to be more vulnerable. And if I feel that I'm deserving of or yeah, deserving of anyone's attention, then I need to honor and cherish that and be as honest and true as I can be. So um yeah, it's in short or in long, but it's a song about an accident I got into. And I thought it was time to kind of put that out into the world. Um, yeah,
It takes a lot of courage to put that something to really share that you've had a traumatic experience out there. So, I give you a lot of props and kudos.
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Awesome. So, let's talk about your upcoming extended play, Celeste. As I told everyone
Mhm,
earlier in this podcast, it is expected to drop March 31st. So, how is this record
mhm.
similar or different between What a Wonderful Time to Be Barely Alive?
So there's kind of a chronological thing going on with Celeste, and what a wonderful time. What a wonderful time to be barely alive was. So it was a leap, and I spoke about it a little bit already. It was a leap moving towards um, um, honesty and really diving into what I want to make. and the acoustic guitar and that drum beat I was talking about. And then as far as the imagery goes for the project, it was all clouds. Um, Part of it, and even the name was, we're kind of in like a no man's land space, right? So it was kind of a good time to start some reflection, and that's really what that record is about. Just kind of sitting in the clouds, making what I want to make, kind of being who I want to be, I guess. And that all came out of COVID, right? That's what a wonderful time to be barely alive. Meaning, I really loved the experience, but our lives were slightly suppressed, I guess, or you know, we were withheld or something. Now, Celeste is kind of the follow up to that. Celeste being short for celestial, meaning like space. I wanted to move, like, what's the next kind of visually, what's the next place I can go to, which is space that's above the clouds. And if What a Wonderful Time to Be Barely Alive was about kind of making what I want to make and kind of re-identifying with who I am. Celeste is a step further, and it's like asking the questions. It's like, it's if What a Wonderful Time to Be Barely Alive was looking in a mirror, Celeste is like looking into the soul. That was the purpose of that. So it was like kind of asking questions and like looking for answers about questions and being vulnerable and being risky and being uncomfortable. That's what Celeste has been about. And again, with the imagery kind of moving past the clouds and going up, and kind of, from maybe a not religious standpoint, but just for this example, from a spiritual standpoint, certainly, going into the heavens and asking the universe, like, what's up with this? What's up with that? Why did that happen? How is this supposed to affect me? And really trying to get the questions answered. That's what Celeste is.
That's incredible, I think, and I cannot wait to hear the rest of the EP when it's out
Oh,
on
thank
March
you.
31st.
Yep, thanks.
All righty. So, who are your dream collaborators, the singers, the songwriters, the producers, and the
Mm,
musicians, and how would they enhance your sound?
Amazing question. Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess I would definitely want to work with, because I'm pretty interested right now in ambient music and these like minimalist composers. There's a guy called Olafur Arnolds that I'm really interested in. And there's a few. There's this guy Tom Ashbrook that I really like. He's an English guy. I believe he's English. This guy Nicholas Pashberg. So I would love to work with someone who I'd love to work with, like a pop producer or something like that, or like Phineas or someone like that, and make something super minimal and electronic, and or electronic drums, and have one of these composers, like minimalist composers that I'd mentioned, really focus on the sound design and soundscape, and that all the tones be really perfect. Now, that is what I'm saying is really what I'm striving to do on especially on Celeste, and kind of some future stuff that I've been working on. But that's really what comes to mind. I mean, obvious would be like, I'd love to work on a song with Tom York, or I'd love to work on a song with Emil Haney, who's a amazing producer. But yeah, I guess I really like this X. I would love to make a song with him. I'm just so infatuated with what he does. Yeah, I guess it really varies. I'd love to make a song with Noel Gallagher, like something like, yeah. There's quite a few people I'd be interested in working with.
Those are great names, and also I'm like very like the name. Like I think Phineas is probably one of the best producers from our generation, and I
Yeah, for sure.
also think I also put Andrew Watt in there as well from our
Mm.
generation
Hmm.
because those two I think are fabulous at what they do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I really admire Phineas because, and like Billy's music, because of, I love a lot of times the minimalism. That's the word that keeps on popping up, for me. It's just like, and then I actually have gotten into a kind of a Rick Rubin wormhole a bit, and started listening to a lot of the podcasts. And, the power of he speaks on the power of minimalism, like he calls himself a reducer. And that's something that I've kind of been maximal in my life, really. But this is kind of the first period where I'm interested in just like reduction, even with stuff, even with things, I don't need this much.
I totally agree. I totally agree. There's at times I feel like an apartment. I want to go to an apartment and stay at it, or even at a condo, but I cannot do a house. There's no way
Yeah.
I can do a house.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I look around my house and I go, man, how did I accumulate all of this stuff? Like, where did this come from? I've only been
Uh,
buying things for the last 10 years or whatever anyway. You know what I mean? Like, how do I have all these things? Almost makes me uncomfortable, actually.
eh, I'm so sorry about that. But let's change from to a more positive tone. So you'll be
Yep.
returning to the road we're resuming tour with Suki Waterhouse with dates in
Hmm.
San Francisco, Seattle, Salt Lake City, and as an honorary member of the Boulder of the CU Boulder community, my honorary hometown of Denver, Colorado. So what can fans expect from these performances?
Yeah. New material. Typically when I tour in kind of two different ways. I'll tour with a band or I'll tour kind of by myself. And this will be by myself. And I kind of put a pretty interesting show on. But they can expect new material and honesty and vulnerability and hopefully a good show. And they will see me twice because I also do play with Suki and her band as well. So, I'll kind of be doing double duty then.
That's good. It's always great to do double duty. So, last question, are you ready?
Yeah.
Where can my audience find your music and where can my audience find you on social?
Yep. My Instagram is Jane, Jane dot noise. My Twitter is Jane noise, no dot. On Spotify, you could search my artist name as Jane, Jane full stop. And my first album is What a Wonderful Time to Be Barely Alive. Soon you'll be able to see Celeste, March 31st. Um, I think that covers most of the big ones, right?
Absolutely, it does. So now it's time for me to do a little self promotion. So,
All right.
guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker. It is the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, JACOB ELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. Now, Jane, get this, Jake-Shake.com is celebrating its 12th anniversary this year. So I am very excited that of Jake's Take returning in 2023 with new material. And
Excellent.
Jane, thank you. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, everybody, have a great one. Goodbye.